Good morning. Today I'm working with a flawed Santorini stone and coming up with a design that will actually make use of some of the divots in the stone. So here I've decided to do a witch's house, odd shaped, and accent the big hole in the rock as if it's a deep window. There will be a long, tall, thin door to house a long, tall, thin witch, a tree, a moon with a owl hanging off of it, Now, although I'm putting the witch in the doorway, I recommend you wait until after you've painted the doorway yellow to put your witch in. I put mine in, painted it, and then I found it difficult to get the yellow background. This is a friend whose body shape altered as I began to paint it, but I'm working with a lot of curly lines, having fun. I love these witches with the simple little arms. Now here I put on feet, but later on took them out. For the owl, just very simple lines. It's such a small item that you do not want it to take a lot of your rock, and you don't want a detailed drawing because of that. I took the divots over to the side and made it into a rock with a hole in it. We'll put a monster in the hole. And of course you have to have a cat. Now I'm using pencil, which for some of you will be annoying because it doesn't blend in with your paint quite as well. I found it not to be too much of a problem. There was a little bit of bleed from it, so if you have a pastel chalk pencil, that's better. I am using a ColorShift, the dark blue purple, and painting all of the sky area in that color. This is going to take a couple of coats because it's very thin. The name of the ColorShift is Blue Flash. You can utilize any of your blues. You can blend them to get what you'd like. This is almost a blue, purple. I don't see any green in it really. At first I started going around objects, and then I decided, oh, what the heck, and I went over everything but the house, the rock, the moon, and the tree. Pretty easy to cover things up, especially if they were going to be colored in black. So I'm going to add some black to my project now using an angle brush. I'm going to paint the house black, and I'm going to use small gentle strokes. I'm not going to paint the window or the door. So if you find the angle brush too hard to manipulate, use a liner brush or use a round brush. And color it in. Going very slowly around corners. If you make a mistake, take a clean brush and push the paint back into the other paint. Wash your brush and keep going. Here I'm going to put ground down so that my objects are not just floating midair. Otherwise I would have had a witch whose feet didn't touch the ground and a house that didn't touch the ground. I'm not painting the sides, so there's a couple places where it looks a little weird, just it's because of the angles. I am painting in the tree trunk. It's going to be black, and then I'm going to have some extending upward branches coming out from it, like a tree. I start with my angle brush just to get the shape of the branches started, and later on I'll go in with a liner brush and clean it up. Now I'm going to paint the hole in the rock. This is where our monster will live. Here's how you can draw in the witches. Just a tall, thin triangle. A circle on top for the head. More an oval shaped. The hat is like a very wide upside down V. And then for the hat I do squiggly lines coming up, and I try to use curly cues. Sorry about my fingers. And then you fill it in. Rework the hat a little bit and the brim, and start from the shoulders and draw just a very thin line down on each side to indicate arms. Keep it simple. Now for the owl, we've already drawn in the owl. We're going to paint it black. Again, simple, simple, simple. Last but not least, we will paint in the cat. Notice that I'm using a liner brush at this point. The angle brush wouldn't have done the detail work that I need. I fill in the head and body of the cat, but I don't do the tail yet. I have more work I'm going to do on the rock that the cat is sitting on. I'm going to outline the rocks, define some shapes for myself. I don't really care if I follow exactly the lines that I had put in before, as long as I'm giving an image that this is a crusty old rock. I'm going to pick up some black paint and just kind of scuff it around. I will come back to that later to make it look rock-like. Just scuffly. Now I put out some white. I'm turning it upside down, and I'm going to paint in the moon. I was lucky when I put in my background. I really didn't get any paint in the moon, but I'm getting rid of the pencil lines and I'm filling in that hole. If I had some of the background that I'd gotten into the moon, I can cover it up with the white now. Trying to keep my moon shape as much as I can. Same with the window in the house, filling that in. Trying to get paint in the hole, which means that I have a pretty juicy brush as I'm doing that. I'm going to fill in the door. This is where I discovered I really wish I had not painted the witch inside of the doorway. So if you hold it till later, you'll be happier. Pick up some black, and I'm doing the little curly cues that come off of the edge of the roof, very slowly turning them into a spiral. I find unless you're using a marker, you have to do spirals in pieces, otherwise the brush bends and does not do what you want. The little pieces will get it. I outlined the window just to make sure it's crisp the way I want it. Now I'm going into the tree and I'm adding offshoot branches. Black, just feeding them off. Trying to clean up any of my rough lines from when I use the bigger brush. If I left any white spots, I'm trying to cover them up now. Trying to keep some branches because I'm going to be adding leaves to this tree, and I would like a branch system with the leaves. That always looks nice. I don't do too elaborate, but I do enough to justify leaves being in the canopy of the tree. Notice I work on one piece, then while that dries, I go work on another piece. Then I can come back and continue work. So now I'm picking up white and I'm applying it over the black that we had put on the rock earlier. It's still damp, so it's blending. So I'm creating a grayish rock, but not a solid gray. It's got texture to it like a rock would. There's some lighter spots, some darker spots, and I am playing around with my white and my black to create gray texture. And I'm moving the brush pretty sporadically so that I can keep the rock looking textured. Scrub, tap, push, pull, mix, blend, do it again. I'm leaving the cat, and I'm leaving the monster hole. Now I'm pulling out some dark brown. I have burnt umber in-house, so I'm using that. Raw umber is nice. You could use burnt sienna, whatever you have. And here I'm tapping it in. I'm going to blend it by tapping. I don't want a total blend, but I want different colors in the rock, which is what they look like. Some darker spots than others. Now I'm putting out my yellow. I'm using a cad yellow light. If you don't have it, mix your yellow with white. And I'm filling in the window, the moon, and the door. Again, had you waited to paint your witch in the door until you'd gotten to this stage, you would have been happier. But you'll see I'm just going to cover it up and then redo it. White is an opaque cover, and it can be used to paint over mistakes for a redo. I'm not losing the original witch, just making it very light as I work over it, and then I'll make it darker again. Now this is tricky. I'm going very slowly and I'm keeping the paint where I want it. I'm picking up a little bit of cad orange, it can be any shade of orange, and I'm putting it on the tip of the angle brush, placing it on the tree canopy area and pulling just a little in order to give the effect of some texture in the leaves area. I'll kind of pull it in different directions so that it's not all just symmetrical blobs. Depositing color up there. Then I'll pick up some yellow and start depositing that. And after I get a certain amount of yellow, I'm going to start tapping and blend the two colors. And this is creating a pretty fall leaf structure. You could add red to this if you want. I'm not going to because I'm adding polymer leaves and rhinestones to this to enhance it. If you don't have the rhinestones and the polymer leaves, you would just paint them in and you could use a pen to show textures of leaves. Now I'm using white and painting along the moon side edge of the tree to show the light reflection on the trunk. Just picking up some white, not too much, and tapping it along the side. I'm not painting, I'm tapping. And kind of run it along. And then I pick up black and I pull it in from the other side. Even though it was painted before, it needed a little bit to blend. And now I'm picking up some white and black and blending the two together with very gentle taps. I'm going to work the center area, adding a little bit of brown to it, removing some of the paint from the brush if it's too much, tapping it gently, blending as I tap, and putting back a little bit of white on the edge if needed. I want to give the idea of the rings on the tree. And the light. Now I'm pulling out some polymer leaves. I will leave a link for these in the description. They came in a packet with other polymer items like flowers and teddy bears and cute little things that are fun to use this time of year. And I'm going to use my wax pencil, pick one up at a time and place them. I just sprinkled them right on the surface of the rock instead of into a dispensing container, just to keep things simple for me. Moving them around And of course I'm not going to have you watch me put all of them on the rock, so miraculously they'll be covering it. But I did one at a time. They're kind of nice size, so they show. Trying to hit all my glue dots. There you can see they're pretty. But I want it to be able to sparkle, and the polymers do not. So I'm picking up some leaf-shaped rhinestones, putting them out just on my palette, putting out some more gel glue dots, and using the rhinestone picker, wax pencil, one at a time, placing some sparkles into the tree so that as the light hits it, it will sparkle. Again, you're not watching me put them all on. They're just miraculously there, but I did do a puddle of them. And the tree's lovely. Just a nice mix of the leaves. Now I clean off the wax pencil, and I'm going to put large amount of gel gloss in the hole for googly eyes for my monster. You have smaller googly eyes, you could have more than one monster. I had kind of big googly eyes, which I thought was fun. Brave cat. Now I'm using an extra fine marker. I like the ones that Artistro makes. They have a nice fine point. I feel like I can do anything I need to do, and they are acrylic markers. So once I get it on and have it dry, I'm safe. It's not going to bleed when I go to resin. I fill in my tall thin witch just slowly. Get the arms in. Get the hat in place. Remember the upside down V. And then loop-de-loop to get the hat curls in. Of course, it's easier to embellish with a marker than it is with a brush, so you might go wild here. Fill it all in. I want it to be a silhouette. You may want different. Now I'm taking a white marker, making sure it works, and dotting in the eyes for the owl. The cat is showing us its backside, so I'm going to put its tail in and its whiskers. I will not add eyes because that's on the other side. Now I decided I wanted a bat, so I start with two little ears and a divot in between and pull down a little body. Spread out a wing, the other wing, then loop, loop, loop. Same on the other side, loop, 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 and fill it in. Here I got really brave and used an extra fine marker and stuck a nose on the owl. And I'm taking a black marker and putting in a broom. So I'll do the upside down U and add some yellow for the broom hairs. I had some black butterflies, so I actually counted out 9 little butterflies, put down 9 little gel dots, and thought they'd be so cute with my black witches. Now I am putting a tile on the roof, just along the edges, And I have some rhinestones that kind of look like broken up seashells, abalone shells. They're really pretty. They come that way. You could actually get some seashells and do this yourself, break them up. I bought them in one of my multi-packs for rhinestones, and I think they're fun. Kind of makes it look like you have tile on the roof. Other ideas might be little pieces of straw, like a straw roof. Whatever you have. For the ground, you could put sand instead of just painting it black. A Florida or beachfront witch home. Now here I am putting the glue down around the outer edge of the window, and I'm going to use orange leaf-shaped rhinestones and form a frame around it, one piece at a time. There are people who get impatient with this and dump a bunch of rhinestones, but you'll have a lot of waste, and in my opinion that's too costly. So one at a time. Now I fill in the entire moon with gel gloss, and then I'm actually going to jut out under the owl so that I have the owl sitting on something, and I'm going to fill this in with the yellow leaf-shaped rhinestones one at a time. And that is also going to cover up the moon's hole. So nobody will see that we had a rock that was less than perfect. It will look perfect by the time we're done. And of course, once you resin it, that will strengthen the rock. So you have to tap gently when you put them in, because there's literally a hole. So you will need to be able to do that. Now I decided I liked that enough that I did that with the window as well. So I'm filling in with more of the orange leaf shapes. FolkArt has an extreme glitter called Hologram, and I'm applying it on top of the blue background, which will give a nice pretty blue-green sparkly silver glitter. Very fine. But as I resin this, there will be a sheen to the rock. Now later on I came back and I used a DecoArt Craft Twinkles, a crystal, and I put it on the house. So I just got excited about all this glitter and decided I wanted more. So you can go to town applying glitter wherever you want it. Glitter can be done by putting down glue and sprinkling glitter, or by purchasing paint that has the glitter in it. It is much neater if you use the paint with the glitter in it, but I have to admit I do both. I did add a star to the right of the moon. I don't know if you can see that there sitting up there, but it's just a pretty little gold star. It reminded me of the Venus in the sky. If you have one, use it. And it's up to you if you're going to paint over top of things, or because this is a glaze, it's not going to lose what you've got underneath. It's just going to add sparkles to it. When it dries, it will be clear, but with the colors of the sparkle.